Good evening, all. So, welcome to the day 3 of Advanced to Mastery JavaScript classes. Welcome you all again. So, if you are entered into the live class, just type your name or just tell it hi in the chat box. So, we will be going to continue the session within the next 1 or 2 minutes. We're going to continue the session. And the past 2 days we have discussed about hoistings, what is classes, what is inheritance, what is constructor function, what is immediate evoking functions, and everything we have completed. So today we're going to see about scoping. Okay, and we're going to see about this keyword. Okay, so these two things we're going to discuss about. And hi. And once we completed this keyword, and we just going to move on to the higher order functions. What is the use of higher order functions and how can we use the higher order function, and those things that we're going to discuss this. Okay, so that's what things. So three concept today we're going to cover. So what are the concept is scoping concept. We're going to see about scoping, and we're going to see about this keyword, and we're going to discuss about higher order function. If possible, we're going to cover about what is closures and how closures are working and what is actually closures is doing and everything. And tomorrow class we will work with the asynchronous, what is JavaScript runtime environment, and JavaScript, everything in JavaScript, how it is executing and how it is working and everything that they will discuss it about. Okay, so that's what it is. Okay, so we will get started, and the procedures are going to be the same. So if you attended the last 2 days of live class,
Oh my God.
okay, sorry for that. Just a minute, I will share the screen. Okay, so just the current is went off, no problem. So I will share the screen. You can able to see the screen of it. Okay, so that is fine. Okay, okay, yeah, I will get the backup. Okay, so if you attended the last 2 days class, you will know about what is the procedure is going to be. So we will share you an attendance form. If you fill the attendance form, the 4 days attendance form, if you filled it, means you will get a participation certificate, and you just came to know like what all you will get a participation certificate, and also you will get notified by W Business or LinkedIn profile. So he will mention you and tag you. You completed the JavaScript and everything. So it will get to notified for all the followers of W Business. So that's what it is. Okay. So now just go and just get started with whatever we want to work with. We will get started with. Okay. So let us close here. And this is the file now we are working with. Let us open it with code. Okay. And I just open this one with the live server. Open this one with the live server. Yeah. Okay. So now it is open. And whatever doubts, like for example, in between, if you have any doubts and queries that you want to ask with me, you can just tell it in the chat box. I will show you chats and everything. I will reply here also. Okay. So what is the first concept that we're going to here we're going to cover in this one is first everything please. Okay. Okay. So this one is going to be scoping. So what is going to be scoping? Let me see what is scoping first of all. Between scope first of all. Okay, scope is nothing but accessibility of something. So if you are writing something, it may be a variable or a function, like whatever you are writing. So where I can able to access it, where I can access that. Okay, so that is called a scoping. So before that, we need to see about two principles. Okay, what does that means? What is lexical scope and what is dynamic scope? These two things we need to know. Okay, in JavaScript, everything is a lexically scope except only one keyword. I will tell what is that. So first, before that, we need to know what is lexical scope first of all. So lexical scope is nothing but based on where they are declared, where they are created, their scope is determined. Okay, this is a principle. Like I'm telling that this is a principle. Like based on that only, the scope is determined, and that term is called as lexical scope. Okay, what is that? Lexical scope is simply based on where they are declared, where they declared or created. We can say declared is the after declared. Their scope is determined. Their scope is determined. Okay, based on that only their accessibility is determined. So in JavaScript, everything is same. So where you declared a variable, based on that only you can able to access it. So based on that only, it is everything will be accessible. And JavaScript, everything is a lexical scope. And except only one keyword, I will tell that. So what is dynamic scope? Then what is lexical scope is okay. So what is dynamic scope? So dynamic scope is nothing but straight opposite for lexical scope. Based on where they are created or declared, it is not a matter. So based on where they are invoked, where they are called, okay, where they are invoked, where they are called, where they are executed, based on that their scope is determined. Okay, based on where they are invoked or created or executed, based on that their scope is determined. Their scope is determined. So this is the two things. Okay. So one is lexical scope. This is a term. So what is lexical scope? Based on where they are created, their scope is determined. And dynamic, that is another scope, another term for scoping things, and that is based on where they are invoked, where they are executed, where they are called. Okay. So based on that, their scope is determined. Okay. In JavaScript, everything is an lexically scoped. So which means where they are created, where they are declared, based on that, their scope is determined. In scope, when we work with scope, JavaScript has, based upon where they are declared, they have three scopes. One is global scope, another one is local or a functional scope, and another one is block scope. So this is determined. So like I said that JavaScript, everything is a lexically scoped. So the scope, if you declared a variable globally, so which means in this entire document, okay, so that is considered as a global scope. If you declared a variable inside a function, then that is considered as a local scope or a function scope. If you declared a variable inside a block, then it is considered as a block scope or anything. Okay, so likewise is that. So now the thing is, when we go and see about what is deeply, we will see about what is global scope, what is local scope, and what is block level scope. Okay. So three places based on where they are declared, their accessibility is determined. So now we need to find out, if I declare global scope, where I can access it. If I declare local scope, where I can access that variable. If I declare a block level scope, where I can access it. Okay. So that is what we're going to see. So first, we have keywords, so much of keywords, right? So what we have the keyword to declare a variable, let have and const have, and let and const are same. Okay. So only the reassigning, the difference between let and const is only the reassigning is changing. In const variable, we cannot reassign it. In let variable, we can reassign it. So first we will work with var, and then we see about let. Okay. Let's see. I just going to create a var variable, var a equal to 10. And what is a global scope is, if a variable is created globally, okay, if a variable is created globally, then it is accessible anywhere. For example, if you want to access here, after here, you just say console.log a, it is accessible in the console. Go, you can able to access it. And if I created a function like this, and if I try to access here console.log a, what is a? Inside a function. Okay, so there are three places. One is globally, inside a function, and inside a block. So I created a variable globally. So now it is going to be it's going to have a global scope, because based on where they are created, their scope is determined. That is what lexical environment is, right? So now I'm going to say which all are the place I can able to access the global variable. So I can access it globally. So anywhere in the document I can access it. And can I able to access a variable inside a function? I just going to check it out. This variable is accessible inside a function. You can see we can able to access it, right? So if we declare a variable globally, then it is accessible outside the function also and inside the function also. So that is possible. So what for block level? So what is actually a block? A block is nothing but grouping the statement. So wherever we are using this is a block. Okay, so if you write something, this is going to be a block. And here you can able to see this is a function block, and here we will use so much of block, and this is a valid syntax. Okay, so you can write normally like this. This is a JavaScript valid syntax. In React you will use this block for grouping the things together when we are writing with XML JSX syntax. Okay, so now I just create an if class. Okay, so this is also contain block, right? So I just give a statement true default. Okay, and I'm going to check that whether I can able to access this variable globally or not, so inside a block or not. So I just going to say that, and I just ask for not this like this, sorry, I just want the console.log like this, and you can able to see it is accessible. So what is mean by that? So if a variable is a globally, if a variable is globally declared, if a variable is globally declared, if it has a global scope, then it is accessible anywhere. You can access the variable inside a function, outside a function, inside a block, outside a block, anywhere you can able to access it. It's like a uh, public Wi-Fi or public POG, anything. Anyone can go and anyone can use it and anyone can access it. So that's what it is. You can able to access this variable anywhere. Okay, so that's what the global scope. Okay, so now the second scope we're going to declare. We're going to work with. So what is the scope? What is the second scope? It is going to be the local scope. So what is meant by local scope? So simple. A variable is declared inside a function. Okay, so then I'm going to check whether I can able to access inside the function or not, or I can able to access outside the function, or I can able to access inside a block. It is possible. We're going to check it. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to uncomment of it, and I'm just going to call this variable inside this. Now you can see I try to run this function. I'm checking first of all. So I created a variable inside a function. I'm trying to access the variable inside the function itself, and I just executed the function. And if I run it, we are getting this variable. So which means var, a variable is declared with var keyword. It has function scope, which means it is accessible inside a function. Okay. So now let me cut this one, this console.log, and try to put outside. So if a variable is declared inside a function, can I able to access that variable outside the function? It is possible or not. If I try to put here and if I save it, we are getting A is not defined. So this is a reference error. So what is meant by reference error? So I'm asking for something that is not existed in the scope, which means if I create a variable globally, it is accessible anywhere, inside a function, outside a function, inside a block, and anywhere we can able to access it. But if I created a variable inside a function, okay, inside a function a variable is created, this scope is determined inside this function only. So wherever I want, I can able to access inside this function only. I'm not able to access it outside the function. So that is why it is saying reference error, A is not defined. And same cases, if you try to access that function variable inside a block, you will get the same error, right? So that is obviously true, right? So if what is the reason why I declare a variable inside a function? Because I want that variable inside the function only. That is why. Sorry for that. Again, I power off. Okay. So can I get after doing the course? Can you help me? So how do you have internship or 1 year experience letter from your company? Shatya Ramaling, like you can just communicate with our team. Okay. So sorry for that. You can just communicate with our team. You can join. I will share you the WhatsApp group link. Okay. You can just join the team, and there you can ask for all your questions and placement related questions and doubts and everything. So that they will clear you perfectly. So whatever the routes you have, everything, and gap is not at all a matter. So we can go with that. Okay. Good evening all. Okay. So let us continue. Sorry for the okay. Sorry for the power issue. Okay. Again got it. Okay. Okay. So now you can understand, right? So this scope is determined inside. If a variable is created inside a function, this is called as local scope or function scope, and that variable is accessible only inside that function only. So based on where they are declared, where they are created, their scope is determined. Lexical, again, the concept of lexical scoping. That's it. So let us go for block. What if I create a variable inside a block? I just say var a equal to 10. And if I try to access this variable inside this block, you can able to see, I can able to access it. So same like function. So this global scope is like an public Wi-Fi, like anyone can use it and anyone can use that. And function is like private, some private space. It is only used for the persons that own, who owned it, right? So he only can use it. Same like that, block is also something like that. So it is like a some other private spaces. So why I want to declare a variable inside a block? Because I want this variable only inside a block. So that is why I'm declaring inside this block. But the problem with var keyword is this var keyword doesn't have a block level scope, which means if you create a variable with var keyword, okay, if you create a variable with var keyword, you can able to access the variable anywhere in this document. If I try to access this variable outside the block, you can see it is work perfectly. And if I try to access inside a function also, it will work perfectly. So why? Because this var keyword, whenever we are creating a variable with var keyword, this var keyword, it has no block level scope, which means it is going to treat this also a global scope. So simply a var keyword has a global scope. It will stores the variables in the global object, and it has a local scope also, which means if you declare it in a function, it is accessible only inside a function. But this var keyword doesn't have this block level scope, does not have this block level scope. So this is still treated as an global scope. You can able to access it anywhere. That's what it is. But when you use let keyword, when we use let keyword, this is give an error called reference error. A is not defined. So what is mean by that? Well, this let and const have block level scope. So if you declare a variable with let globally, then same functionality you can able to access it anywhere, like a public Wi-Fi. Same functionality you can able to access it. And if you declare let with inside a function, it is accessible only inside this function. Same like that, if you declared a let keyword, a variable with let keyword inside a block, it is accessible only inside this block. Okay, so that is what it will do. Okay, so this is the first difference when it comes to var and let. So what is the difference between var and let? Well, var doesn't have a block level scope, where the let and const have a block level scope. So they have a block level scope, and they have it, and this variable is accessible only inside that block level scope. If I try to access inside that block, it is accessible. If I try to access it outside, then it will throw me a reference error, how the default function is work. Same like that. Okay, so that is the first difference. I think you get it, right? Yeah, so that is going to be the first one. Okay, so this is about scoping. So actually we need to know about what is lexical scoping. So based upon where we are where we are declaring, based on that their scope is determined, and dynamic is based on where they are called executed, their scope is determined. Everything in JavaScript is a lexically scoped except only one thing, that is going to be the this keyword. So this has a dynamically scope. So let me see what is dynamic scope and how this is dynamically scope, and everything we will discuss it. And in scope concept, we have actually three scopes. One is block and one is global block and local scope, local or a function scope. Okay, so three scopes we are having. So this var keyword, it doesn't have a block level scope, which means if you created a var keyword, if you created a variable with a var keyword and you put inside a block, it is accessible anywhere. So its scope is not inside that block only. Okay, so that's what it is. But when you are creating the same variable with inside a block with let and const, it will be inside that block only. So we don't want to worry about that. That's what it is. Okay, so this is all about scoping. Okay, okay. And one more thing that here you can notice is when you are creating a variable with var, okay, variable with var, this is going to store inside global object. But when you create a variable with let, it will store inside an special scope. Like it is not store the variable inside a global object, instead of a different space, it will going to store it. So let me see that. If I say a equal to 10, let me go for our application, and okay, it's my old application, sorry. I just go for the source snippet. Okay, here you can able to see the scope. Okay, so what I want, just enter. Okay, here we declared var A var C equal to 10, like this. And let me run the debugger. Okay, we will run the debugger to debug it, and if I run it, you can see right now it is there, and you can able to see inside here. I don't want the breakpoints. Inside here you can able to see global scope, right? So you can able to see global, it is the global object. And when you create a variable with var, you can able to see the C here. C is 10, right? So we can able to see that value, right? So value C equal to 10. So it is inside the global scope. But same thing, when I create a variable with let I say let D equal to 10. So this is global object. So the var keyword stores the value inside this global object. Okay. So now I just cancel it out and I just started to execute again. Now you can see another scope is created and another space is created. Instead of global object, another space is created, and inside that another space you can able to see the script tag. D is undefined, right? So this undefined we yesterday discussed about in hoisting what has happened. So that is what it is happening here. And this script tag is the block level scope. Okay. So when we are creating a let and const keyword, it will not store the value in the global object. It will store in a different space. Okay. But when you are using an var keyword, it will go and store inside this global object. Okay. So that's what it will do it. So this is another thing that we need to just keep it in mind. Okay, so it will be helpful in some case. Okay, I just stop this debugger. Let me cut this down. And okay, just refresh it. That's it. So this is the second thing. Okay, when it comes to scoping, that we need to understand. Okay, so let me go for the next one. It's going to be the this keyword. So I say that this is the dynamic scope, which means where we created, it's not a matter. Where we called it, where we executed it, based on that, the scope is going to be determined. Okay. For example, I say var A equal to this. Okay. And what is this is? This is nothing but this. This is always refers to an object. This, remember that. Okay, this is always refers to an object. It is like a substitute for an object. Okay, so like when I say like this is the function that this is the object that the function is property of. So what is mean by that? Let I tell you. Right now you can able to see this var A. I just say this. Okay. So right now this is, if we know that this is going to be dynamically scoped, right? It is a dynamically scoped. So based on where they created, it is not at all matter where they are declared, where they are executed. Based on that only their scope is going to be determined. So now I'm going to say console.log A. Okay, console.log A. Let me see what we are getting here. You can able to see this global object, the Windows object. That is the global object, entire object. You can able to see the A variable that what we have created, it is here. And inside that we have this Windows object. So what is happening? Why this keyword is returning this Windows object? Well, we already discussed it. So right now, instead of var, if I say let, okay, and if I save it, you can able to see that we are getting the same Windows object. But the one thing is the variable is not there. The variable is not there, right? So right now you can understand one thing is what is dynamic scope. I said based on where they are invoked or executed, their scope is determined. So what is mean by that? What is mean by that? So simply where it is created, we don't want to taken into consider. Where it is invoked, it is invoked in a global space, right? So for example, if I say var, okay, so Windows, whatever we are writing, this is how we will write window dot a. If I ask for window dot a, it will going to give me Windows. What is a in this Windows object? Console dot log. What is Windows dot a? You can see we will get this again Windows object. So what is happening here? So calling a is also same. Calling windows.a is also same. So what is happening? Because inside this Windows object only, all our global value and global function is going to be stored. Inside that only it will be stored. Okay. So now you can understand that this keyword is a dynamically scoped. Then it is based on where it is going to invoke. Based on that, their scope is determined. So now that this keyword is always refers to an object. So for remembering purpose, you can just remember. You can understand like this. This is always refers to an object. After you will get this dot. So this dot is represent an object, right? So inside an object, I want to access something. We will use this dot operator, right? So before what we are having, okay. So before what we are accessing, before what we are having, so this always refers to this one, okay. If you created a global function, I just say access, no problem, okay. And here I just say return this, and if we call it in the console.log, what is access, it is going to give me again the Windows object. Why? Because it is executed in the global space, it is executed in the global object. You can see that. So before, if I give window, so it is a shorthand. We are not writing the global object for every time windows.a, windows.access for every time we create a variable and global space, right? So we just avoid it and it will understand it, right? That's what it is. But you can see that here it is accessed. This function is in the global object, and this is always refers to an object that the function is property of. So this function is property of an object called Windows. So inside this Windows only, we're going to have this function. So what is function? It's going to be access. You can able to see. So this is a property, which means a method. Okay. So a method that is inside this Windows object. So it is still considered as a data until unless it is going to execute. Okay. Then till now it is considered as a data only. That is why it's property of. Okay. So that is why what we are having, this function is property of an object, and that object that this keyword refers to. So based on where they are declared, where they are invoked, where they are executed, their scope is determined. Okay. So that's what here it is. This was it. And simply that this is going to change its scope in multiple spaces. In constructor function, we have discussed how this is changed the scope, and everything we have discussed. Same like that, the most common four cases are this in a global variable, it refers to an Windows object, because whenever we are calling a Windows object is get evoked, so it is refers to the Windows object. This in a global function, it is going to refers to the again the Windows object. Okay. And third one is this inside an object. Just create const obj, and here I just going to say name, and I just going to say like this. Okay. And let us see details, and I use the shorthand property to write details. So instead of if like we can write like this also, it is newly introduced syntax. You don't want to write functions, properties and everything, you can write like this simply, it will be work. Okay. Return this. So simply what I did, this is the method. So instead of writing details colon function and writing like this, you can tell what is the method name that you want to create, and what is this going to be the invoking function, or what you want to return. Okay. So now what I'm going to do, now if I want to call this a detail function, how we will call it? We will call it obj.details. Like this we will call it. Now come to the reference, what it is. This is always refers to an object that the function is property of. What is mean by that? So here this is declared inside an object, that is not a matter. Here where it is, this function is calling, so this here it is the function, and this function is property of an object, this object. So this is refers to, you can see when I say return this, it is returning me this object, right? So it is returning me this object. So till now it returns an Windows object. Why? Because by default they are in the Windows object, so it is refers to an Windows object. But right now an object I created, so it is inside this object. Okay, so this refers to an object that the function is property of. So here we have the function property, and that is refers to this object. So now that this keyword is refers to here. So simply you can understand this in a global function and a global variable refers to an Windows object. This in an object, a method, then it refers to that particular object it belongs to. So if I ask for this dot name here, this dot name, and it is going to refer me the name of the person Harry. That's what it is going to be refers to it, and that's what it is. Okay, so that is the one thing. And another thing is you can use the same this keyword for event listener. It refers to the that refers to the particular object. Okay, so that refers to the particular element. Okay, so which element is invoking, like which element that event listener is currently added, so that element it refers to it. Okay, so 4 places: this inside an object, this inside an function and global variable, this inside an object, and this inside an event listener. And this, if you use this keyword inside an event listener, that refers to the, and that refers to the particular element. Okay, so which element that you have selected, which element that the event listener is at, that particular element it will refers to it. Okay, so that's what the 4 places where we will use this keyword. Can you see the real time use cases to use this method? You will use this method all the time. Okay, for example, where we will use this method, if you are creating a function. Okay, and if you want to create, you're going to create a function same like this. So in the first class, what we have discussed about constructor function. So what is constructor function? So while if I want to create a object that has the same structure, okay, it is going to have a same structure, then every time why I want to use this keyword, instead of I can simply say like this, right? obj.name, like this I can tell it, and here I can create obj1.name, and here I can create it. So when you are using a constructor function, okay, when you are using a constructor function, you are not going to change this method, because we will add it in the prototype. In the first day we will discuss about it, right? So we're going to add it in the prototype, and imagine that in that time I create 10 object, that method is going to work in all the 10 object according to the data of the 10 object, right? So we need to give something dynamic, right? So if I give obj, okay, so I added this to a prototype, then it is whenever I going to call, it is going to give me the name Harry, right? That is what going to give. But here I give some name, some other name. Okay, so imagine you created another object with the help of a constructor function like obj2, and here this is in prototype, so we never change it, right? So we are not going to touch it, we will add it in the prototype, it is going to be permanent. And now if you call the details obj2, and I just change the name to roof like this, and here if I ask console.log what is obj2 dot details, and if I run it, you can see it is giving the name of obj1. Just imagine in constructor function, you're going to create like this, and this detail function, we never touch it because it is a function and it is a behavior. We never touch it, and it is dynamic, right? So what I need? So I need to render the value of the name dynamically. Whatever the value that the constructor function is used to build an object, I just want to render it. If it is inside this object one, it need to provide the object one name. If it is inside this obj, then it need to provide obj name. If it is inside obj2, then it need to provide obj2. So what can I do with it? We can use this keyword, add it in the prototype, just only once in the memory we will add it in the prototype. And this keyword, it is going to refers to the object that is calling. So if I say obj.details, this refers to obj. If I call obj1.details, this refers to obj1. If I call obj2.details, then this refers to obj2. So here if I call it, we will get the name of it. That is what it is. So we don't want to create a separate method for every time for an object that we are creating, because the same functionality, only the data are changing, right? So for that changing data, we can use this data to get the dynamic value, and we can use it here. So if I use this obj1 and obj 3, we will get obj2, I think obj1. Yeah, we will get all the data. So we will add this method to the prototype. Okay, and the constructor function is going to create an object for us with the different data. No matter what, how the data are going to change, this function is going to be work with based upon the changing data, because this keyword always refers to the function that is always refers to an object that the function is property of. So it is going to change according to who is calling it, according to it is changing it. So that is why it is called as dynamically scoped. Okay, because of this dynamicity only we can able to work with it. Okay, clear? Got you. Okay. Okay, so that's what it is. Okay, so the day one class we have created some constructor function, right? So each and every time we're going to create a constructor function, and this method we will add it in the prototype. And whenever we are accessing this prototype, based upon the data that we have given, based upon the data that is newly given, so based on that data it is going to provide an information for us. Okay, so that is why we are using this for dynamic. So the name itself is there for dynamic use cases. Okay, you can hover it, you can able to see what it refers to also. That this refers to that object that is creating it. You can see here this a name with the string and detail, and here this refers to name one and date. Who is calling it, it is just going to call that one. So that is the use case of it. And also in event listener it will be have some use cases, and it will be used, you can be able to use that one. Okay, so that is all about this keyword. So this is the 4 most common use cases, use replace of this keyword, and where we will use it and we will work with that. And that is the 4 most use cases of this keyword. Okay, and also we have some other things that when we get deeper into some advanced concept, much more advanced concept, that this keyword is going to be really helpful, like working with higher order functions and working with basically working with closest higher order functions, and for that purpose it will be really helpful. Okay, so now let us see about what is higher order function. Okay, so okay, so in higher order function, basically JavaScript treats their functions as a first class citizen. So what is meant by first class citizen? So many programming language treats functions as their first class citizen, which means they give more importance to function, and some of the work that we can able to achieve with functions. Okay, so in some programming language those functionality will not available, but here it is available. So JavaScript is kind of that. It will treat their functions as a first class citizen. What is mean by that means? Well, we can able to store a function inside and variable, so this is in some language it is not there. In JavaScript it is possible. So the expression type function, so how I just create const a, and I'm going to create a function, right? And here I can say return hello world. Okay, so what we are doing, we are storing a function inside a variable, right? So this is an example like JavaScript treats their functions as a higher order function, a first example. And the second one is a callback function. Callback, I think most of you know about what is callback function, and in asynchronous also we're going to discuss about that. So what does that means? We can able to pass a function as an argument to another function. So what is mean by that? Well, I create a function, going to create a function, and I just going to say display. This is going to be my function. Okay, and it is going to do something. Okay, so this is a function, and I'm going to have another function, and this is going to do something like like this. Okay, this is another function, and what we can do is we can pass this function as an argument to this function. That is also possible. For example, how I can say sum. Okay, and here I just say a, and here I just say console.log what is a. Okay, like this. And what I can do is here the parameter needs some value, right? So instead of sending data, if I send the data, you can get the data, right? You will get the data. So instead of sending the data, I can able to pass the function inside that function. How? Simply call the function name and passing the function name inside it. And now you can able to see what it is returning, the entire function that what I'm having. For example, if I say return y, and you can able to see return by is here, and here I can execute the function, you will get by. So what is happening? So here it is a function. Okay, so here it is a function, and this function is going to take another function as an argument. This is called as callback function. A function is going to take another function as another function as an argument, and this function is going to pass inside this parameter, and here we are going to work with here, and it is going to work here. This is called as callback function. Okay, so how it is working? Let me cut down, save it, refresh it. Let me see in the source snippet, the debugger. Okay, so with the debugger, run the code, and here now the debugger is executed. So now we don't want the scope and all. We need this call stack. So you can see something called as anonymous is there, right? So which means the call stack is right now empty. So there is a global execution context. So call stack is nothing but here is the place where whatever we need to execute, it is going to be invoked. Okay, so if I call a function, so it will be executed in this call stack only. This is the one that is executing our code. Okay, so I'm just going to drill down. You can see right now it is jumped to here because all the things are created. Now the line JavaScript is going to read this line. I just say some display. Okay, I just going to drill down. You can see right now nothing is here, anonymous. Okay, so it means nothing is there. And if I click it here in call stack, you can able to see that the sum is created, right? A sum is created, and the sum is going to be the function. So it is going to execute the function. Okay, so it is going to execute the function, and here you can able to see local. What is this? This is the local scope. So right now the function is executing. So what all are the variable that I can able to access it? I can able to access it here. So here it is giving this a global scope is accessible, right? Inside local scope, we can able to access all the Windows object and everything. So that is what. So the Windows object is accessible, and it is saying that something A is there. So that is what the parameter. Okay. So now I am go again drill down. You can see that the sum function is still there, and it is move on to another function, right? So here it is reaching the return, and now you can able to see inside this local function. So what all are the things that I can able to access here is by default we can able to access the Windows object. The default thing is here because here there is no parameters here. If I add any parameter, then it will be come inside this local scope also. Okay, and if I add any variable, it will comes inside this local scope only. And right now once you can able to see the code is executed, it will be removed from the call stack. I just going to execute again. You can see now the code is executed, it is completed. Now you can see the display. The next click, you can see the display function is removed from the memory. Everything is it is removed from the call stack. Okay, it is removed from the call stack, and now it is comes to the which function that is called the callback function. It is come to here. Okay, now you can able to see the global scope and what are the variables and the parameters that is available inside this local variable. It is available here. Now if I press again, you can able to see this is also get executed, and it will remove from the call stack. Get executed, it is here, completed, it is reaches the completion line. If I click here, you can see it is removed from the call stack, and right now it is anonymous. So this is how the code will be work in the call stack. So what is happening? This is also an example, like a function is treating another function as an JavaScript treats a function as an first class citizen. This is also an example. So why we need this callback function? Well, that is what we're going to discuss about tomorrow. Okay, so asynchronous. Okay, to achieve asynchronous and how to handle asynchronous, we're going to discuss this out. Okay, so that's what it is. Just a minute. Clear, sir. Okay, can you say the real-time use case? Okay, can we pause array from constructor? Can we pause array from yeah, of course you can pause it. In constructor we have the constructor method, right? So you can pause it. So that is why classes in the secondary classes we have discussed classes. We have a separate constructor method, and we can pass it there, and we can able to use it. No problem. You can also add not only the method, you can add it in the prototype. You can able to add a data into a prototype also. That is also possible. Okay. Simply you are giving a data into the prototype. That is also possible. But for giving a data, you need to follow the old school constructor method, not the classes. Okay. So that's what it. And you can add it. That is fine. No problem. You default methods and everything, you can validate. One value from constructor in object. Please pause one value from constructor in object. Okay, so that must take value from a parameter dynamically. Don't hard code hurry. Hard code hurry. Okay, let me try this. So explain slowly. Okay, at least to closure, currying, etc. Whatever you feel important interview. Okay, so don't go. Okay, I will. The closures also going to be covered. That is what the next thing will be. Not worry. Yeah, always debugging is excellent. So whatever the concept that we can able to explain it in the debugger, it will be explained. But the prototype, it is not possible to explain in the debugger. Okay, so because that is Java, that is the core JavaScript prototype object. So we cannot see that in our debugger functionality. We cannot see that. We only the global scope and the local scope and the scope what are available, that is available. Okay, so let me see that. So this is all about callbacks. Okay, let me do that, and we will discuss about the next thing. So the function is passing another function as an argument to another function. That is what callbacks. And finally, the last one is going to be the higher order function. What is the function t is? So simply a function returns an another function. That is what it is. So what is the special about higher order function? So the higher order function is all about, it comes into the concept of closure. So we are getting into the concepts of closures. So we will discuss about that. The higher order function is very useful and it is going to be that, and I will explain about. And closures also we will discuss it. So what I'm going to do, I just going to create a function. Okay, and this is going to be I'm going to say this, what we can say, get food. Okay, and it is going to have a parameter food, and here I just going to say const, okay, food equal to food. Okay, so simply we have a function and it is going to have a get food, and this is going to have a food as a parameter. So I don't want to confuse. I just going to say ordered food, and let me add this one as an ordered food here. Okay, so whatever I'm giving, it is go and store inside this ordered food, and here I just going to say return food. Okay, so I just going to return, and here I just going to say get food. Okay, and I just going to say pizza. This is a normal function. Okay, let me see. This is a normal function. Let's close here, and if we return here, I just add the console.log, or instead of return here I add the console.log, and here I just going to add this one, and now we will get this pizza. We all know that. So now what I'm going to do, instead of this, so what I say higher order function is a function returns, not like callback function. A function is passing an another function argument. So this is different. A function returns an another function. That is different. Let me explain. A function is going to return, I just using the return keyword, and I'm going to create an another function, and this is going to be an anonymous function. I just give a name. I just going to say eat food. This is going to be the name of it. Okay, let me mention it as get food, like this, and this is an anonymous function. And now here I just going to say console.log hi. Okay, let me type this, and now here we will ask console.log food, right? So now what we can do, so just understand what we have written. We have created a function called get food, and that is going to get the whatever the food that we are passing as an argument. It is going to get it, and it is going to store it in a variable called food. Okay, so that is order food, and here I'm asking console.log what is food. So it is going to give me that ordered food. Right now it is pizza. It's going to give me, and this function is going to return a function. Remember that whenever a function reaches this return statement, the function, once it is returned the value, once the function returned the value, this function is going to be get removed from the memory. But in callbacks it will not. The callbacks is going to wait for another function to complete. It is going to wait for another function. We can see that in sum the display is wait, and the display is completed, then the sum function is going to be removed from the memory, right? So let me see this one in our debugger. Let me see this functionality in our debugger. Okay, let me add it here. Okay, and let me add the debugger. Okay, I'm just going to click here. You can see the debugger is added. So now what all are the things that we need is, we need this call stack. Okay, we need this call stack. Just give focus on this call stack. Okay, so right now nothing is there, which means a global execution context is there. The call stack is empty, and global like a small block will be there. That is the global execution context. That is anonymous. We don't use that. That is defaultly available. Now JavaScript is going to read the line. When I just click this button, it will go and execute this function. You can see if I click it, get food is get executed. Right now it is going to read it, and once it is executed, it will comes into the call stack. So call stack is the place where execution takes place. Now if I click here, you can see right now in call stack, get food is there. Get food is there, and whatever the parameters and the variable is created, that is created inside this scope, inside this local function scope. You can see local, by default this is available. We can able to access the global scope. So this key, like this means the Windows object is there, and we have food, and that food is right now undefined, because hoisting is takes place in whichever place you are working with. Hoisting is takes place right now is undefined, and the ordered food is going to be the parameter, right? So it is going to be the parameter that we asked for it. Okay, yeah, it is going to be the parameter that we asked for it. So that parameter asking pizza. So now I just going to click it again, and now it is reached the line. Now you can see the food is, the hoisting is completed, the food is pizza, and order food is everything here. And now have a look into here. Once the return statement, once the return, it reaches the return statement, and it will go for the next function. It is goes for the next function. It is reached the return statement. It go for the next function. You can able to see what it is returning. A value, it is going to be eat food. Okay, a value, it is going to be eat food. That is what it is going to do. And now it is just removed from the memory, and it will came off, right? So that's what happened. So now what I'm going to do is, it is going to, instead of writing like this, have a look at here, have a look into here. Instead of returning this function, okay, I'm going to execute this function. Instead of simply returning this function, I just going to execute this function. So what I'm going to do here, I just remove it here, and I just going to add it here, and I just going to say execute the eat food function. Execute this eat food function. I'm telling that. So what you need to return is, you need to return another function execution. That's what you need to do. So right now, just going to copy, comment of this, save it, refresh it, come here, snippet, paste it here. So now let me run it here, and you can see that, let me go to the place where we need the call stack is there, the get is there, get food is there, and here it is going to come here, and a memory for function is created. Now you can able to see it is returning a get food. You can able to see what it is going to do. It is going to execute it. Now you can see the eat food is just going to execute it. Okay, eat food is executed, and you can able to see that this get food is in call stack, but there is no memories here, right? So now I just going to execute again. Now it is going to say console.log hi, and Windows is there. Now here if I get it, it will comes it, and once it is executed, it will come. So this is how this returns, with return statement it is going to be executed. But the thing is here is, when JavaScript reaches this return statement, when JavaScript reaches this return statement, okay, when JavaScript is going to reach this return statement, the memory, whatever the value that we are having it, okay, whatever the value that we are having it, okay, it is accessible. We know that if it is declared inside a function, and it is accessible only inside a function, right? And once it is returned this one, this here we are in a different scope. Here we will in a different scope, but still we can able to access the variable of this function, even though it is not in the memory, even though it is not executed, even though it is not present, even it is completely removed from the memory. We can, this function can able to access their parents memory. We can able to access it. Let me see that. Instead of hi, if I ask for food, if I ask for food, okay, so what is going to happen is, so remember that once it is returned, it, the previous function whatever we are having, that it is going to be completed, it's just going to be removed, the whatever the value that we have, and inside it is just going to be removed from the memory. Okay, so the function is not going to be there in our memory, but still we are able to access the parameters and the variables that inside, that has in the parents data. So how can we do it? How it is happening here? Let me access this one. Remove this, paste it, refresh it. Now paste it here, run it here. Let me execute again, and you can able to see a local scope eat food undefined, and this is this variable. So which means we are in right now get food, and once the get food returned, okay, once the get food is going to be returned something, we are right now in the get food, so it is going to return eat food, and the eat food is returned. You can able to see a place called closers. A closer is created. Before that it is not created, right? So here you can see a closer is created, and it is accessing the closer. This function is accessing the closer. So what is happening here? Simply, whenever a function returns another function, remember that a function is returned something, then the function is not in the memory. It is just going to be like whatever the values and whatever the parameters that is created, it is just going to be removed. Okay, because it is returned, the function execution is complete, right? So it's just going to be removed from the memory. But still, this function we can able to access its data. How? Because whenever a function is created, a special space is created, like how the scope is created. Likewise, a special space is created, and all the parameters and all the variables and whatever that is inside this function name, parameters, variable, global scope, everything, it will store it in a special place, and that special place is called as closers. And what we can do is, whenever a child function, whenever the child function needs needs that parameter, it can able to access it. How? Because of this closer, it is available in the closer, so it can able to access it. So simply, what is the, you can type it in internet and you can check the statement. What is the statement that you will get is, closers is nothing but a function returns another function. So even though the parent function is not there, in the memory, not it like it is executed completely, it is not going to be there in the memory completely. Okay, it is not existed completely. Still, we can able to access the ordered food, which means the parameters, the variables, the function name, and everything. We can able to access those variables because of a special place created that is called as closers. So right now, this function is not in our memory. So whatever the variables and the parameters that is created, it is removed from the memory. It is just not that. But still, once it is returned, it needs that food variable. So the closer, it just go and look for the closers. So just go for the top of the scope chain and look for it. If nothing is available, it is go for the closers and looking for it, whether anything in the food is created before by my parent. Yes, you have it. Take this and use it. And now if I execute it, you can see the get food is going to be run. Once it is done, the get food is completed. Now it is completed completely, and it is going to be removed from the memory. And we will get the pizza in our console twice. So once here, the parent is executing and the child is executing. So simply this child function is always have accessible to their parent's functionality, even though the parent function is not going to be accessed in the memory and everything. Okay, so that special place is going to be the closures. Okay, so if you see the definition again, okay, you will get a little bit clear conclusion. Okay, so for this closures concepts, okay, so the closures are a little bit advanced, and based upon the closures only we have the currying functions, and we have all other things, all other concepts, the function based programming in JavaScript, everything is completed. So then variable by same name. Okay, so the closures can reaches functions then variable by same name. Sophia, input. So can you repeat it again? I'm not getting what you're saying. Just a minute. I will share you the attendance form for today's class. I think just a moment. So I shared the attendance form. You can take it the attendance form. So the closest, the last thing, what I just tell about the closest results. So the closest is nothing but like whenever a function returns an another function, this parent function, even though it's not in the memory or not going to execute again, and it is not there, it is not existed completely, still we can able to access their variables, parameters, whatever the function can able to store, we can able to access it. How? A special place of closure is created. In that special place we can able to it will store all the information about the function that is created. So whenever a child function is wanted, we can it's go and access the closure, and we can able to access it. That special place is called as the closures that is created in the scope. Okay, you can able to see it. That's what it is. Ask you passed variable. Yeah, you mean asking about passed variable means you are asking about parameter. Can we able to access the parameter, the ordered food parameter? You're asking this one. You're asking about this one, ordered food. Can we able to access this ordered food? Yes, of course you can able to access this ordered food. That is also you can able to access it. Okay, so whatever the information, not only the parameter, it is stored inside the function. A variable, it is also going to store inside a function, and this is going to be stored. Even the function name, it is going to store inside the function. So whatever it is going to be stored inside the function, you can able to access this variable, like access it inside it. Yeah. Okay. Just a minute. Okay, so this is open with live server. It is old one. Sorry. I just remove this console.log food here. Okay, and let me ask for it. You can see we are getting this pizza. You can see. So what is this? This is the ordered food. So maybe for your purpose, I just like here. You can see we are getting this pizza. Not only this, whatever the value that we are passing, we can able to access the parameter of a function. We can able to access a variable of a function. You can access it anything from as a child. You can able to access anything from your parent. So that is going to be like even the function is also not existed, completely not existed in your memory. You can able to access it. Okay, that's possible. Yeah, of course. For every functions, like always, if you have three functions, a function returns another function, that function returns another function, that function is going to return another function. That child function is always access to the parents. So before all the three parents is there, right? You can able to access all the values of all the three parents. The child function, you can able to access it. Okay. So if the second child, he can able to access to the first child and the second child. Okay, so first parent and the second parent. So you created function returns another function, that function returns another function. Okay, so the child can able to access their two parents, whatever the data and variables that it is available, you can able to access it. Okay, and likewise there is not about matter like who is the parent and apparent is available, how many times you can access anything. Okay, anything, still any hierarchy you can able to access it. But the thing is, parent cannot access child variable, child can access the parent variable. Okay, that is the one. The child function can able to access the parent variable, but the parent function cannot access a variable inside a child function. It is not possible. That is the one thing. Okay, but other than that, how many hierarchy is there, no problem, you can access it. Okay, even 2 function 3 function is there, you want the third function's parameter, as a child you can able to access it. That is closest because it will there, you can able to access it. Okay, thank you Jesse. Okay, I hope that. So what's need TypeScript came, bro? What's need TypeScript came? Like it is 2 different questions or 1 questions. So the TypeScript is nothing but JavaScript is a loosely typed dynamic programming language. So TypeScript makes it strictly typed. Okay, in programming language like Java and some other programming language, we will give you that what variable that we're going to pass, and like we will give you the like what variable we're going to pass, whether it is an integer or whether it is going to be there, like we will tell it. So the TypeScript make it as strict. Okay, so that's what it is. People who love strict TypeScript, it makes the error free. So JavaScript, whenever we are working with, we have come up with some it will dynamic, we can easily create it and it will really helpful. But we're working with TypeScript, it will makes the errorless. Okay, so that's what the TypeScript is mostly helpful for, and we can able to work with this. It will makes a programming JavaScript as dynamic to static. Okay, so we can do what are the error free works are here. So if you do little bit of TypeScript one, that will be good. So any advantage you see in hierarchies? So you are asking in closures. So this concept is not exactly what we see. It is not going to be exactly applicable in the real world. Okay, so we that have this different names, like that is what the currying function, that is what like the closure functions, currying functions, and also we have a pip, and we have some other terminologies with that. And this is going to be, we will use it in our daily code, but we don't know what is the terminology and how it is working. Okay, because it is working that this is all of the principles behind that. So based on that only it is working. So we don't know. Okay, so it is accessible, so I can access it. But why it is accessible? Because of closures only it is accessible. So there is a concept called closure is there. So what is closure? So closure is a default behavior that the function is, while we are creating a function is doing. So that is how the learnings happens. Okay, so but this will be used in all the programming languages. So no matter what, how you are creating, you can create without knowing this also, you can able to create it. These all are the advanced concepts, so the core concepts. So you learn this one means you can able to understand what you are writing in your code, and you can able to come up with some way better error free codes. So that's what it is. Okay, so even closures are used by everyone, but no one knows that why we are using, but no one knows this is the closure. No one knows that, like that only. But when they know need the terminologies, they can come up with the terminologies. That's what it is. No, security is not happen. So because of the security only, closures is going to be really helpful. So when you store some data in the parent, but you will ask, you're going to return in some other functions, right? So only the parent having the data, the function that is going to return, it's not going to have any data. So then it is saves the security. So that's what, for security purpose only, with this closures and everything, these are all the principles, the functional orient, like how object oriented programming is there, likewise the function oriented programming is there, right? So these are all the principles. So while we are working with the closures and currying, you can able to see a function having data and another function is going to have executing it, and we will only checking these functions only, not we will not check it. So this is it is not permissioning. This is actually we want it. Okay, for security purpose only, we actually want it. We don't want a function to return all the objects and data to others. So only whatever the data that I want, I can access it, but no one knows where I'm accessing it. Only I knows this function is there, and that is why I'm accessing it. Only I knows, right? Because that is in the parent function, right? So or else you will return every data and everything. So here I will access whatever data I want. Ordered pizza, I can get ordered pizza. If I want only pizza, I can get only pizza. But no one knows it, where the data is coming, no one knows it. For security purpose only we need that one. Okay. Okay, guys. Okay. Hello. So I think everyone has filled the attendance form. Thank you for that. Thank you for filling this attendance form. Okay. So I will share you and WhatsApp group. Someone has asked about regarding the gaps and placement and all, right? So you can join this WhatsApp group. Okay, just a minute. Okay, if you want to ask anything, you can join in the WhatsApp group and you can contact the group admin. Okay, so you can contact the group admin, and the group admin, you can contact anyone. So, okay, so you can contact it, and or you can type it, you can tell it whatever you details that you want. You can tell it in the WhatsApp group itself, and from WhatsApp group itself a team of DWD member will reach you, and they will help you regarding your queries, like placement queries and everything. Okay, so just a minute, I just copy this link. Okay, so it is posted. The WhatsApp group link is posted. Check it out, and the attendance is also posted. Please fill the attendance form. It is day 3, and we will see in the day 4 and the last day. We're going to work with the asynchronous. We're going to see about what is JavaScript runtime environment. If possible, we will cover some other advanced concept also. We will see them. Okay, thank you all. Thank you.